Hello, hello, it's Memento, and today we're going to be talking about Everholm. I'm cosplaying Lily. I got super excited because I remembered that I owned this dress and I was like, oh my gosh, that's basically just what Lily's running around in. I would stand up and show you the full fit, but I'm in pajama pants because it's cold in my house. Anyway, let's get into talking about Everholm. To give you a little bit of background and full disclosures, I have put about 2.5 hours into the game, and I got Everholm for free as part of a Lurk It campaign. This is a key campaign, so I am not receiving any money for my review. All thoughts and opinions will be my own, and any criticism I give is constructive criticism because I genuinely enjoyed this game, and I want to give a review that offers my own insights into hopefully making it a more polished game. So, let's talk about Everholm a little bit. First of all, I have to say, the opening cutscene is beautiful, and I will be showing that to you at the end of my review. The second thing I want to talk about is it's a beautiful game. It is a genuinely beautiful game, and I was so excited to get to play it because I did feel really passionately about wanting to take this journey. I'm a big fan of farming sim games ever since the Stardew Valley days. So some of my frame of reference is going to be based around playing Stardew Valley, one of the OGs, and some of my discussion is going to be based around various ones that I have played over the years. And the first thing I want to say is I truly believe Everholm has what it takes to stand apart from other farming sim games that I've played before. I think they're a unique twist to Everholm, and I honestly think it has some of my favorite art of any farming sim I've ever played. So now, I'm going to show you guys my little rating here, and I'm going to go into my ratings, which is going to be an overall rating and then a more in-depth rating. So the first thing we're going to start with is the music. I give the music a 3.5 out of 5. And the reason for this is I really loved the music, but there wasn't a lot of music. I heard 3 different tracks as I was playing. There was a specific track for when I was in the underworld. There was a specific track at the Bunny Festival or the Egg Festival. And there was a specific track for everyday life. And you hear the everyday life one the most. And for the 2.5 hours that I played, it got a little repetitive in my opinion. I wish that there had been just a little bit more to set the music apart. What has been composed in Everholm is truly beautiful. I think the audio tracks are stunning, but they get a bit repetitive. I'm excited to hear what there might be for the other seasons, or if it rains. One of the characters kept mentioning rain, but we never actually got any rain, and I'm like, maybe that would have a different musical track. Or even if I had a different track when going into some shops, I think that would make a world of difference in just adding a little bit of audio interest to it. This is how you're keeping people in the mood of your game, and it really does add to the ambiance, and I just think that having a singular track wasn't doing the game as much justice as it really deserved. Next up, I want to talk about the characters. I give the characters a 4 out of 5. So the reason it's a 4 out of 5 is a couple things. I had a lot of trouble remembering the characters. I'm very bad with names, and aside from Mary, and there was another character, Molly, but I can't tell you anything about her, a lot of the names are very generic, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that what struck me was they were all very interesting, but I couldn't remember them because I couldn't really see them. There are no character portraits when you talk to the characters, so I have trouble with names personally. So because I had trouble with the names of the characters and didn't see portraits, I didn't know who I was talking to most of the time unless they had really defining features. I knew that the spooky girl had the white hair. I knew that the person that you're going to buy animals from had the cowboy hat, or it was some sort of hat. But a lot of the characters, I just didn't know who they really were. They didn't have enough defining features in their tiny sprites. And I just wish I could have seen their portrait art, because there is portrait art for all of these characters, because it does appear in your calendar when you see the upcoming birthdays or when you talk to each of the shopkeepers. I think adding that in would really do a lot to just take it to the next level and make your characters more memorable, because they were cool characters, but I had trouble with them because I can't remember names very well. Also, I do want to briefly touch on the map. The map situation is a little rough. You can't find characters. Because I don't remember the characters very well, it can be hard for me to find them. And the map was only ever showing me about 2 characters at a time. There was nothing listing where the characters were. I think just updating that so that I can either hover over a character portrait and see where they are, or hover over a location and see who's in that location would make a world of difference in helping with finding the characters. There are a lot of them in the world, and it can be hard to find them. Next up, I want to talk about the story, and within that, I want to talk about the festival. The story itself, I gave a 4.5 out of 5. I think the story is really intriguing, and I think the story is what sets it apart from other farming sim games. I think the amnesia aspect makes a lot of sense, and I like that you're kind of trying to play it off. You don't tell anyone you have amnesia. You're just kind of trying to figure out what's going on and uncover the secrets as you search for your sister. I think the search for your sister is really intriguing, and I think finding the secrets of the world is really interesting. That is an ongoing quest that you have in your quest book. I got to about 20 of them, I think, out of 90, and I'm very excited for how they're going to add to the world building of this already really beautiful world. And honestly, I think that is the most defining feature of the game. I think that farming sim games as a whole are very much slow burn games. It definitely took me like 100 hours to reach perfection in Stardew Valley because I am a casual player. So I don't expect to uncover a lot of the story very quickly within this game. And I think they're doing a good job of setting up the mystery and allowing you to uncover it bit by bit in a non-linear sort of storytelling. You can kind of choose your own path in this. So when it came to the story where I did progress the story, I want to talk a little bit about the Egg Festival. So harkening all the way back to the Stardew Valley days, I feel like all of these farming sim games have an Egg Festival. It's kind of like a staple of the genre, and I'm super about it. However, I did find this one was a little bit clunky. I had trouble finding it at first. Once I did find it though, I went in and I'm talking to the villagers and I was kind of like, okay. I couldn't trigger anything to happen though, and I was like, alright, cool. Maybe I just didn't talk to the right person. I went around, I talked to every single person I could, until all of a sudden, it was like right before I was about to talk to someone else, I snapped into a cutscene where someone I had already talked to was like, Danny was her name. She was like, alright, we're gonna start the Egg Festival. I highly recommend doing the spoon and egg race. And I was like, bet, cool. So I went over, I did the spoon and egg race, and the one thing I did notice is it didn't feel like it was a rhythm game, and it didn't feel like the rhythm was lining up with the music, which was throwing me off. I didn't know if at that point I was a little too motion sick due to a visual glitch that I was having in my game that I'm going to talk about later, but I was having a lot of trouble hitting those notes, and when I go back and edit, I'm going to see that, and if I'm wrong and it was to the beat and I was just missing it, I will publicly shame myself. but at the time it did not feel like it was to the beat of the music, which was really throwing me off. Either way, I won the egg and spoon race. It wasn't that difficult, and then suddenly the festival was over, and I was like, oh, I can't play either of the other two, even though there are still arrows pointing to them. I tried going to the store, and then suddenly I could only buy the backpack, when before I could buy anything from Mary's store. I think the strawberries and sunflowers were new, were limited, and I was like, okay, and picked up some strawberries because the Stardew Valley player in me thought of that. So it ran a little bit clunky to me personally. I wanted to try the other ones. I actually ended up not saving because I knew I wanted to potentially try the other two games out, since now I know I can only play one per day. That just came across as a little bit clunky to me. You aren't teleported back to your farm either at the end of the day, which is fine, but it was just a little like, it didn't run smoothly to me, and it wasn't clear that I was only going to get to do one activity. I really wanted to try all three, honestly. And the shop thing might have been a glitch. And I did talk very briefly, and I'm going to put my little disclaimer in. I played this game over the span of 2 days. The first day it ran perfectly fine, but a week later I played some more of it because I was like, I want some more footage. I want to see some more, and I'm kind of in the mood to play something cozy anyway, so why not play more Everholm? And I had a terrible visual bug. It was very stuttery, and it was making me feel kind of motion sick as I was playing. I tried exiting the game and seeing if it would fix it, and unfortunately nothing really fixed it, so I do apologize. I'm going to use as little of the footage as possible from that day, but there are things I saw that day that I didn't see in my first part. So I will have to show some of the footage, so I do apologize that you're going to see some stuttery footage. I'm going to minimize it. I'm going to minimize it as much as I possibly can because I know it made me feel motion sick. So next I want to talk about the mechanics of the game. I gave the mechanics a 3 out of 5. So first I'm going to touch on accessibility. I think the accessibility has a pretty good start. You have a couple different volume sliders. It does tell you what the keybinds are. Unfortunately, you can't change them up. If I had to suggest anything, I would suggest either not automating the cutscenes, because if you're not a fast enough reader, you will miss them, and the ability to enlarge text. I think that would be really, really helpful in just adding more accessibility features to the game. And I know a lot of people want keybinds to be changeable. I did not realize you can look at the keybinds at any time. However, that does not mean that I personally did, and I could never access my inventory because I didn't know it was B. And had it been up to me, I would have changed it to I or even Q. And that just felt a little bit clunky to me. Fortunately, you can click around for a lot of things and it works, but overall, making some minor changes could go a long way in the accessibility features of your game. Now, since this is a farming sim, I want to go on to the mechanics of the farming sim elements. So first, I'm going to look at the foraging aspects. When you are foraging for things, it's pretty easy. Cutting down trees is pretty easy, mining for rocks, getting grass. I did notice that your scythe does take energy, and when you do eventually get your bat, you cannot use your bat in place of a scythe for an energy-free resource. That was definitely a Stardew Valley hack. And rocks in the early game take quite a few hits to break, and that does get a little tedious, not because I mind hitting a rock several times, but because your energy is already limited and it can really shorten your days. I'm not necessarily saying that needs to be fixed, more so just an observation that I had. When it comes to the farming aspect, I think the farming is extremely simple, and I like it. I like it. I like that there's little faces above your plants when you hover over them to tell you whether you've watered them or not, in addition to the soil darkening when it's watered. Also, you can stand in the center and water in an 8-tile radius, with the 9th tile being the one you're standing on, and you can just press and hold and do it that way. And honestly, that was a nice quality of life, because sometimes watering feels a little bit tedious, especially in the pre-sprinkler era. So that actually was really nice. I thought the farming was pretty smooth. I did notice that when you go to the shop, sometimes the things appear out of order, like sometimes they say spring and summer, sometimes they say summer and spring, and things don't necessarily say whether they are multi-harvest or single harvest. I did see that that's something that people could want. Personally, fix the sequencing, keep your clear and consistent language. I don't necessarily mind having to do a little trial and error over whether they're multi-harvest or not. That didn't bother me actually, but I can see how some people might be. And the other thing I loved was there is a ton of variety. I love that there are so many plants that I can grow, and I'm really looking forward to when I get to spring year 2 and have my farm fully developed and I can grow everything, because I loved, harkening back to Stardew Valley, I loved filling my farm with so many different plants that I could plant, having a crop plot for each different plant, having all of the different trees. So I really like seeing a lot of variety. Now, one thing that I did not see is I have heard there is bug catching in the game. I did not have the opportunity to try the bug catching. I never got a net or anything like that. I don't know if I missed someone to talk to or if it was further on. Another thing that I did not get was there is apparently a community center, museum, like that sort of thing, and I never activated that. From what I read, that happens at the end of your 2nd or into your 3rd week. So after the Egg Festival, which I did not play past the Egg Festival since I wanted to try out all of the different mini games there. So those are 2 features I cannot speak on, and I think it's cool that they have a bug catching mechanic, because not everyone does. And I do like filling up those museums or community centers. I like having that in there. I think it's fun. And I think it just adds a twist. It gives you a reason to go out and try each different aspect of the game. Next, let's talk about the fighting. When I went down into the mines or into the underground, I thought it was beautiful down there. I actually felt really compelled to want to go down there each day, and I was kind of sad that I couldn't go down there as many days as I wanted to, because it was beautiful. You can tell a lot of love was put into it. I think the enemies are also really diverse. I thought that was really cool that they were enemies that I hadn't seen in other games. I thought they were fun. The bat was a little clunky at first, but it's also your starter weapon that you get for free, so I'm not about to argue with that. And you do get 3 health potions, which is very helpful, because as you figure out how each enemy attacks, you will take damage. I thought it was really fun. The mechanic to go down to each floor is very similar to the Stardew Valley mechanic. You defeat enemies and break rocks open, and eventually this patch of light is revealed that allows you to go down. The only suggestion I have would be, it would be nice to have a little speech bubble pop up to let people know, because the first time it happened, I stood in it for a hot second, didn't know what to do, decided I wanted to kill all the enemies on the floor anyway, and then went back to it and ultimately figured it out pretty quickly. But I think that could be nice as just a accessibility feature. And also, I am a firm believer in making games idiot proof, because I know I myself sometimes play a game, especially a cozy game, and I'm not trying to use my brain. Sometimes it's really helpful to just have something to be like, right here, go here. That's my personal opinion though, and I understand if not everyone feels the same. So the last mechanic that I need to talk about is the fishing. Fishing and I have come a long way. It used to be the bane of my existence. It took me a long time to enjoy any fishing minigame. Stardew Valley, your fishing minigame hurt me and set me up for failure in all future games, I swear. Many years later, I finally conquered my fear of the Stardew Valley fishing minigame and was able to get my perfection farm. Just as a little backstory. The Everholm fishing game is not good. I think it just needs to be revamped. So it works on a curve system and it just feels very clunky. You don't know how much of the fish actually has to be in the little circle for it to count, because it's not like the whole fish. So your fish can be like here and it still counts, but it can be up here and not count, and it just it felt very clunky as I was playing it. And as someone who has had a long fought battle with fishing and has grown to fish for enjoyment in games and as a money-making resource, I did not enjoy fishing in this game. I think just editing it a little bit, making it a little bit easier, I think could make a world of difference. You can still keep it on the curve, but I think making the UI a little more user-friendly so I can tell matter-of-factly, this circle, if it is anywhere touching the circle, it works. I think that could make a world of difference. It was the only mechanic that I can truly say I did not enjoy. The rest of them, I think you did a really good job with. I really liked all the other mechanics in the game, but the fishing one was a not for me. It is not Memento approved. However, I do hope it gets updated at some point, and I will keep sticking with it, and I might revisit it eventually and be like, ah yes, I've come to love it, because that's what happened with Stardew. So honestly, the sky's the limit. So last but not least, I want to talk about the coziness of the game. I give the coziness a 4 out of 5. I think this is an incredibly cozy game. The pixel art is absolutely stunning and beautiful. I love the portraits of the characters, which is I think also why I want to see the portraits when I'm talking to each character, because they're cute. They provide so much personality. And if you're willing to make a couple portraits for each one, it can really showcase the emotions that you want to highlight with each character. You know, if you do have a character who's more thoughtful, having like that standard portrait like that, but then also having if you have a character who is a musician, there's a bard character, when you talk to him normally, having him have his smiling like, and then having another one where he like has his guitar, I think that can make a world of difference in helping with the characterization. And I guess you could put that under the character section, but ultimately, I do think that all of the different crops look really cute. Everything about this game is so cute. The enemies are so cute. I think they really did a wonderful job. The spiral motif, I actually really like the spiral motif that you're seeing throughout the game. There is so much potential in Everholm. It feels so cozy. And I think that with just a couple tweaks, I think they could take this game and make it truly amazing. There's a reason that I'm looking at their Steam page right now. There's a reason that the reviews are mostly positive. I think that this is a sort of cozy farming sim game that people are really going to want to play. Finalizing some of those UI issues, adding a little more accessibility, the character portraits to give all of your characters more heart and more vibrance, fixing the fishing UI, also customizing your main character. It's a simple thing, having even just to start out a couple outfits for her to wear, I think could make a world of difference. Add something that allows the player to take ownership and to feel at home within their game as they're discovering the story of this character. I think it's a really compelling game. I think it's a really fun game, and although I received this game for free, although I am doing a review of this game in return for the free game, I want to play more. I was very excited when I booted it up earlier to play more, and if not for the visual glitch that I was getting that will hopefully be patched out, which is why I did not deduct any points, I really have enjoyed it, and I really do actually want to go play more of the game and uncover more of the story. And with that being said, Everholm I really do think is a very promising game, and to end it off, I just want to show you a little bit of the intro. So I hope you'll enjoy. Alright guys, thank you so much for coming out. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it told you all the information you needed to know about whether you should pick up Everholm or not. And just remember, if you like this video, give it a like, leave a nice little comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of me. I upload videos once every week and do a lot of game reviews, let's plays, and we'll be getting some video essays up pretty freaking soon. And with that being said, have a fantastic rest of your night, guys. Bye!